Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Cities Skylines. I hope you're having a good one because I am excited to be back. We are, of course, in the beautiful city of Nerdinburgh, which finally has a skyline. It only took us 17 episodes, but we finally built one. And today, I want to go ahead and I want to expand it a little bit. I want to make my downtown area look that little bit better, that little bit more built up, and I want to make it more accessible with some transport links as well. But before we do that, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the feedback on the last episode because there were some fantastic comments and some fantastic suggestions for what we do around the Majesty. And then I want to talk about what I've done since the last episode. Let's get right to it. So, first and foremost, the frame rate around this part of town has gotten to be kind of terrible, and I'm pretty sure it's not my PC. I am having some issues with my computer at the moment, and I'm working on getting a new graphics card, which will hopefully solve those issues. But City Skylines isn't really a graphically intensive game, so there's something weird on the map at the moment that's causing some frame rate problems. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But around the Majesty, I decided to go ahead. I'm going to pause the game to try and save some frames here. I decided to go ahead and place a bunch of ploppable grass, and I went to the Steam Workshop and got that concrete retaining wall network so I can go ahead and put some curbs around the grass as well, which I think looks lovely with some trees and some benches. I also went and got some car props. These are all just vanilla cars as props that I plopped in there so that they are, populating the parking lot a little bit. There were some suggestions to put a fountain and some statues, so I went ahead and did that, and over on this side, much of the same thing. Now, something else I did was I went in and I opened up these fences. I opened it up right there, I opened it up on this side, and I opened it up right there, and people actually can walk in and out like this little fella's doing down there. So this thing's actually accessible from all sides now, which I think is a lot better than it was previously. Now, I do want to mention, there were some comments that said that maybe it would be a bit of an idea to move the Expo Center down to where the Majesty is. And the reason for that was because the Majesty is a bit more angular, it's a bit sharper, and it matches the style of the buildings in this area. And I do agree, I think the Majesty would look interesting in there. I think the Expo Center would be cool at the end of the street. But I kind of like the Expo Center where it is, I'm not going to lie. I think it's in a decent little spot, so we're going to keep it there for the time being. We might come back and change it, though. And really, that's about it. That's about all I've done for this area. But now I want to talk about what I've done since I did everything in this area. And what I did was, well, I've been a little bit busy. I've been planning out what I'm going to do with this entire space. I've added another highway connection right here, which I didn't design this. This is from the Steam Workshop. It'll be in my collection, which is linked in the video description. And while you're down there, you'll also find a link to my Twitter, @ConflictNerd. I do recommend following it. I update everything on there all the time. So if you're ever wondering where videos are or what I'm up to, Twitter is kind of great. I mean, Twitter itself isn't great, but my Twitter's fantastic, if I do say so myself. Anyway, I didn't build this thing. I just thought this would be a great addition to the area. It's a relatively small intersection for the highway, and it gives us a connection to the industrial area, which I've gone ahead and expanded just a little bit. So essentially, I needed more power plants, and I also took this as an opportunity to get more water treatment plants, and I went with the larger ones this time so that sewage is doing very well for itself. And then coming off of that, I just decided to get more industry. Essentially, that's kind of what all this is. And I also got myself a mod that lets me turn zoning off on certain roads. So you'll notice there's no zoning on this road, there's no zoning on these curved roads down here, and it all works out to give me a much better looking industrial area. I can use areas like this for a bit of detailing with some trucks or some containers. I can do sort of the same thing over here. And I just think it came together kind of nicely. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of detailing. And then coming off of that, I also went ahead and put some fences around the highway over here. I changed the terrain to be sort of dirt underneath this highway, and I put some trees around it because I thought it looked kind of interesting, as well as the keys under there as well, which I think just makes this thing look that little bit better. And that is about everything since the last episode. Now, I do want to take a second to talk about the weird sort of frame rate thing you're seeing, because the game runs pretty good over here. Like, there's not really any issues. It's not really 60 FPS over here, but you start going over this way, and it just gets so choppy. Every time I've loaded this map, I've had weird terrain glitches, where parts of the terrain will... I mean, you can even see it when I'm trying to edit anything here. I'll do it over here. Parts of the terrain will look like that when I load up the map. So what I think has probably happened is that there are parts of the terrain trying to shoot up into the sky somewhere in this area where it can't do that. And that's maybe why my game's having some issues. I don't really know. It's not the end of the world. I'm still going to try and build in here today, but that's what I'm suspecting is going on. As for what's going on today, though, which is a bit more important, I mentioned that I want to get some public transport connections for this area, and that's what all of this is going to be for. I want to go ahead and I want to place a train station in here. So I'm going to take out just those two sections of road, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to expand this section of road right here. And I do need some zoning on this thing, so we'll go ahead and bring it out to about there. And you're gonna have to forgive I will explore and see what's going on with the poor frames, but for today, we're kind of just gonna have to tolerate it, I'm afraid. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place a train station right there. And then we're gonna go in, we're gonna delete a couple of the sections of road that I've already placed, so these guys are gonna go, which does mean this thing doesn't have a connection. But if I do my job right, I can go in here, I can turn on road guidelines, and I should, from one side or another, be able to do this, and that gives this guy a road connection, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm also just gonna say that this is not gonna have any zoning along that curve. So that's going to be our main train station for the downtown area, for good old Myrtle Square. And what I think I'm going to do with this guy is bring some tracks out right away and get them going over this road. So we're going to elevate, and we're going to say that road guidelines are off, grid snapping is off, and we're going to go to about there, I think. And essentially, we'll do the same thing the entire way down here, and we'll take it across, make it look all, you know, interesting and whatnot. And hopefully this will be good. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Hopefully this will be good. So let me grab these two nodes. Let's go ahead and level to object height on the left, which is pretty good looking actually. And we're going to do the same thing the entire way across. So this guy to there, this guy to here, and the remaining 3, 2, and 1. And then all of them are just going to get leveled to exactly the same height. So they're all going to get leveled to the bottom left, which is right there. And I think that looks kind of cool. I've got to be honest. And it's a little silly having all those bridges. I could push them together. I could do something similar to what I did with the old town station, but I kind of like this. And then for this guy down here, I'm going to have to figure out how best to connect it. It looks like it would line up really well with this particular bit of track. So let's maybe give that a shot and see what would happen. So ooh, it actually lines up really nicely with the outside one. Okay. What kind of angle? I mean, it's not a perfect connection, but it's not bad either. It's definitely not bad. I'd kind of like to avoid it being so angular though. So what I might do instead is we'll bring this guy out, and I'm going to try and line it up with the next track down. So if I bring this guy out to say, let's bring you out to here, and let's bring you over and see if I can't line these guys up, which is not really looking like I'm going to be able to do easily, but I think I can do this where we can get something pretty decent looking. So maybe what I do, it's something even simpler. We'll just bring this curved section forward to there, and I just sort of wing it. And that honestly looks all right. I don't completely hate that. It's far from perfect, but I'm thinking I'm going to allow it. Also going to deselect all of that, select you guys, and select you, and see if we can slope this. Now, of course, we sort of can't, which is a little disappointing. This road's going to have to be lowered for that to work. Okay. Okay. Maybe that's just a sacrifice that we're going to have to make. So this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and I guess all of them are sort of going to have to be lowered a little bit. So let's start by going to that height, which is lower. Oh my god, you can get an idea of just how laggy my game is by how long it takes it to do simple things. So that's not terrible. I do think we need to go a little bit lower. And the game's paused, by the way, while I'm doing this. So that's really an idea of just how bad, you know, something in this area is giving the game problems. But I think that right there is probably low enough. So I'll make this look all neat and nice and tidy, and I'll not make you suffer through the bad frame rate while I'm doing that stuff. Okay, this is up and going. We've got trains coming in and out, even if they are not going to be popular whatsoever, because this is just a connection between the old town and the downtown. But it does give us a bit of a start to this area. So what I want to do next is essentially go in and figure out where all of the rest of my roads are going to go. Because obviously there needs to be more to this area. And I suppose we should also address the elephant in the room, which is what's going to happen with the metro lines. And I've actually thought about that a little bit. And I've realized that what I can do with the metro here is I can have these elevated lines coming off of, well, this point right here. And I can bring them down this road, and I can take them to, let's say, about there. And that's pretty good. Obviously, it intersects with that train line, but here's where things get a little bit interesting. If I go and grab this node, and I just level this until it's roughly level with the station, which I think, I want to say that's about leveled there. If I go in, and I, you know, grab the rest of these nodes with this oh my god, I'm trying to move right now, and the game is not having it. Oh my god. This is reminding me of the first time I played Minecraft on an HP laptop in 2010. This is actually worse than the first time I played Minecraft on an HP laptop in 2010. Well, it's been 10 minutes, and this is all I'm seeing, so that's probably, yeah, that's bad. This is probably, that's not good. Not good. So thankfully, there was a recent autosave, and having loaded that autosave, the game's actually running so much better. I've made videos on YouTube for nearly 10 years on this channel alone. It'll be 10 years this August. And for some reason, after all of that experience of doing this, I didn't think to reload the save. Anyway, what I was trying to do before I was rudely interrupted was put some, metro lines above this road. And essentially it was going to be this is what I was going to do. I was going to do this. And then I was going to go in, I was going to grab all these nodes, and I was going to first off level them all to the same height as this guy, and then bring it all up a little bit like that right there. And the reason I'm doing that is because this road's on a bit of a slope here. So keeping this thing level means that it should and does fairly well go over that train line. Now, it's a bit silly looking having this hugely elevated metro line in the middle of all of this, but I also kind of like it, so I'm also kind of going to do it. And it is also technically our first bit of metro in this entire city, which I think is a pretty big deal. So I like it, is what I'm going to say. I'm also going to put some pillars in. So I'm going to put one right there, and I'm going to put one right about there. And I'm going to put one right about there as well. And what I need to do is go in and grab these guys and just lower them so that they're not sticking through my metro line. So right about there, this guy is going to go down to about there. And this guy is already perfect. And that just gives us some support so this thing actually looks like it's being held up by something rather than just, you know, floating in space. I'll connect that to something eventually, but for now, now that I can actually play the game without it running like Minecraft on an HP laptop in 2010, I actually want to build some stuff. I actually, believe it or not, I want to do some stuff in City Skylines. So the first thing I want to do is try and fill the immediate space around this train station. And I had a couple of ideas for that because we still have some buildings I've not built. So something like this guy, like this shopping center right up here, I think would look pretty good. We could do a theater, but it's a bit of an older building for this area. We also have things like the Grand Mall, which admittedly would kind of fit in here. The courthouse would kind of fit in here, but I think that would be a little weird to put in this spot. So honestly, I think I'm going to go with the shopping center. Now, to place this thing, I'm going to have to, where the hell's the, why? I'm blind. It's right there. So basically, to place this thing, I think what I'm going to do is go roughly there. We'll turn our grids back on, and we'll say that's probably enough space, right? So if I go in here, oh my god, I got it perfect first try. I think that looks good, and I think it makes sense for the area as well. You know, it's a downtown area, so I think it probably would have some kind of shopping center in here. So I think that's pretty good. I'm also just going to lower everything a little bit so it's not, you know, pushing up above the keys too much, which I don't think it is. Also going to move this guy back a little bit so that the concrete's actually in line with the key as well. So I think that's pretty solid. In terms of actually connecting this to anything else, that's going to be, well, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I'm sure I can manage. Let's see. What can I do with this thing? How can I make this work is my question. Let's go ahead and turn off grids first. Actually, I kind of need grids. I'm going to keep grids on for a second. I'm going to bring this guy over here, and I'm going to turn grids off now, and we'll do this. So that's still a road that still connects to the shopping center, but it also gives me this road right up against the train station. That's the word I was looking for. Gives me a road right against the train station, and I can do that as well. So that is pretty good. That's going to be a connection straight under there, which I kind of like. I would like to go in here and just change the intersection a little bit to be a little more, I guess, chunky is the word I'm going to go for. So not chunky is probably not the word I'm looking for there, but to make it a little more, I don't know, dynamic. I don't know. Something like that. Just a bit wider, really, is kind of what I'm going for. Just something a little bit wider. A little bit more character to it. So that'll be good. That gives us a little plaza in here as well, which is going to be lovely for the front of the train station. It gives us a nice connection down here. And to be completely honest, I should also probably put some fences alongside the train tracks. So let's very quickly do that. And what I'm going to do for that is actually just use the, well, I was going to say I'd use the network or concrete retaining wall network, but I think I did get some others. I got this one, the plastered wall network, which, looking at it, is nearly identical to the concrete one. So I'm just going to use the concrete one because I'm a little bit lazy. And to build this guy, we're just going to do something a bit like this. We'll go and grab all of those nodes, and I'm just going to move it right to there. So it kind of goes right up against that little wall that's in there already. And it gives us a nice little bit of a divide between, you know, the pedestrian road and this big old train station, which is kind of what it should be doing. And we'll also bring it to, I guess about there is fine. And we'll move this other node so it's a little bit more central to about there. And that should be fine. I think that's pretty solid. We'll go ahead and grab all of those. We'll copy them. We'll sort of just push them over to this side. And then what I can do is essentially just shuffle it into place right up against the wall on this side like so. And we should have matching walls. Well, more or less, which I think is fine. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. So I'm gonna kind of allow that. And then what I want to do, and this is going to be slightly more tedious, I want to go into here and search for pavement, because I went and, like I said, I got some ploppable grass. I also got ploppable pavement. And what I want to do with this is just cover up this bit of dirt along here So I can use the prop line tool to do this by just laying a whole bunch of these guys out, and essentially up to, well, really I want it to be in line with the shopping center, but I guess I'll go to here for now. And it is a little bit on the other side of the wall, so something like that. And then looking at this side, maybe just move it a little bit that way. That looks pretty good to me. I think it's all level as well, so we'll go ahead and place it. And now we have a little bit of a wider sidewalk with some weirdness going on, but I'm not really super worried about it. I think if I want to fix that, I can just probably grab all of them. And you know what? I should probably grab the nodes here as well and level everything to about the same height, including the building. So if I select everything and I say this, that's all... Ooh, that's not all level. That's a little bit interesting. Okay. Is there a node underneath here at all? I don't want to select the building. I just want any nodes. There is one. So let's grab that guy and level it to this height. And that fixed my surfaces. So we have a lovely, neat sidewalk right there. Still have some grass here, though. So I think what we'll do to try and get rid of that is we'll just go in with we'll go in with this brush. And it's not going to be, you know, perfect, but it'll do the job, and you'll see what I'm working on here in just a second. If I just, you know, brush over all of this, we have this little bit of overlap. I'm not worried about it. We have this little gap right here, which I am a little bit worried about. I'm not a huge fan of that. Let's see. Is that road lower than the one on the left? It looks like it is, but I don't think it actually is it? No. It definitely looks lower. This whole road looks like it's at an angle, but I'll assume it is, and I'll assume I'm just sort of seeing things. But anyway, what I want to do is just place a little bit of concrete there and a little bit, well, you know what? We'll just do a little bit, nope, right there. And that covers up the grass that we had. As for all of this, I think what I'm going to do is just go and grab some ploppable gravel, and we'll just use these massive, in fact, maybe I do need to do this. I guess if I cover this entire thing in concrete, that might make my life a little bit easier when it comes to putting the gravel in here. So let's do that, because it's going to get rid of all the grass that would be sticking up through the gravel. So all of this is going to be covered right up to about there. All these middle bits are going to be covered as well. And then that bit on this side, I mean, I guess we just paint over it, and I can do some stuff with the concrete, the ploppable concrete, to make it look a bit less weird. So that's a start. It obviously looks a little bit silly right now, but I think what I'll do is I'll grab this guy, and this is basically what I'm going to use to try and make this look a little, well, less silly. So if I put it right about, say, here, and I go and I grab that surface, what I'm wanting to do is oh, is it gonna cover? Ooh. Okay, this isn't gonna work as nicely as I hoped it would, which is a little bit surprising, I'm gonna be honest, but we'll make it work. So if I put it to about there, it does go into the key, which is good news. So I can do this, and then essentially I can just sort of copy and paste the same thing this whole way across. So to about, say, there. And we want to do the same thing here as well. I do really want to avoid covering up the sleepers on the track, though. These the wooden beams, essentially, that go across there. So is that something I can do? It looks like it is. I guess we're gonna have to have a little bit of grass poking through in some of these spots, which I guess that's okay. We could probably put some plants in there to make it look like it's just a little bit overgrown, and I think that'll be all right. So we'll just go ahead and chop all of this out of here, and we can cover that again with some ploppable concrete, ploppable pavement, and we'll not really worry too much about it. Now, what I do want to do is grab these three surfaces, and I want to go ahead and just dump them right about there. I want to select them. I want to raise them. And that looks okay. There's a little bit of a gap in the middle, but I'm not super stressed about it. We'll go ahead. We'll do the same thing here. We will level to that height, and that looks okay. There's a bit of a gap between these two, though, which I'm not a huge fan of, so let's try and just fix that. I think those are just shadows, so no gaps there. A little bit of a gap right here as well, so let's fix that one. And a little bit of a gap down here, perhaps a little tiny one. So let's just fix that as well, which it doesn't seem to want to do. Object height, please. There we go. Nothing sticking through the wall, which is great news. And then we have this bit to do, and we have the gaps in the middle to do. Then we'll put some detailing in here with some bushes, and we will be golden. Okay, this looks about how I want it to. I do just want to go in and get a little bit of detail, though. So we're going to just put some plants in here to make this look a little bit, less than perfect. And what I like about this is because I've got the, I guess, fake floor in here with the ploppable gravel, we only get a little bit of these plants poking through when I place them down here. So you end up with something that looks a little bit, less overgrown than it otherwise would. Although I do kind of like the idea of having maybe a little bit of color just in there. I don't know how much, plant life would grow or thrive in here, but just a little bit, just to make it look less than perfect. That's kind of what I'm going for. I don't want this to look like it's, perfectly barren, essentially, because that's all it would be, right? It would just be this really open area of dirt with nothing in it. So just a little bit of this to make it kind of interesting, I think helps a little bit. We can probably grab some of these trees and just move them around a little bit, raise them up a little bit. Put a little bit of color in there as well. So just a little something like this guy, I think looks kind of good. We could probably go a little bit crazier with this as well by putting some of this stuff in here. So if I just go ahead and place it like there, and then move it and sink it a little bit, what we end up with is just, a bit of grass poking through. Which I know the whole reason I put this bloppable gravel in here was to get rid of grass poking through. But at least this way, I can control the amount of grass that's poking through, and I can make it look the way I would want it to when grass is poking through. So we'll go ahead and place a little bit there. We'll sink this one down to the same height as the rest of them. We'll grab all three and just push them through the ground a little bit. And I think that's coming along. I think this middle area is still quite bare. So we'll throw a little shrub there and there and there. We'll throw a bit of grass just sort of next to them. And we'll sink it a little bit. I think I might throw some kind of tree on there. I might do one of these guys just for a little bit of height variation, and I kind of do like that. And then we've got, maybe there's a little strip along here, just sort of growing alongside the old train tracks there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit Bob Ross with this. I was going to try and come up with some story as to why these plants are growing here. Maybe they're just happy, Maybe they like the trains. They like the hustle and bustle of the city and the plants. The seeds were blowing along in the wind one day and went, you know what? I like the look of right there. And, yeah, here they are. Maybe a year or two later, they've settled in. They've realized that it's quite noisy where they've decided to live, but they're sticking with it. Their kids are settling into school nearby, so they can't really afford to up and move right now. So they're making it work. Is what these plants, that's what these plants are doing right here. They're making it work. And you know what? Good for them. Okay, I think this does the job. I don't want to go too crazy with it. It shouldn't be horribly overgrown. It's just a couple of little plants that have popped up here and there in this, open yard. We still have all of this space to play with, and I think what I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to push another metro line through here, right down to this spot, going right across that road, and you know what? I want to try and bring it across the highway. So give me, let's see, give me a section of metro that goes, I want to say this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab those nodes and I'm going to just raise it up to the same height as this guy, which is very, very tall. This whole metro setup right here. It's very, very tall, very, very high, but I think that's all right. And I think what we can do is we'll bring this guy over to here. And then we're going to try and curve it, I guess, so that it goes over the highway, which might be a little silly looking now that I think about it, but we're going to give it a shot. I think about there. Yeah, that is, I was right. It is silly looking. I'll tell you what, let's bring this guy straight over, I guess, to there. Let's have you connect. Let me get a nice straight connection, please, to there. And let's get rid of some of that nonsense. This should be, and it is, a perfect corner, which is obviously not exactly ideal for a metro, but we're going to deal with that fact in just a second. We'll level everything. And then what I want to do is I want to go, if it's going to let me, which it might not, I want to go from here. And I want to go, what is that? So that's 10. And I guess that's okay. Although it's not going to give me a, it's not one to play nice, is it? It's really not one to play nice with me. That's 10 on that side. That's fine. Give me the road guideline here. And let's see if I can get 10 on this side as well, which I absolutely can. 110. What angle is this? 150, 113. All right. You know what? I'll allow it. It's not 100% perfect, but that'll be the curve that we go for. So 10 units there and straight to there gives us a nice curve for the metro. It can go out. It can go over the highway. It is just about tall enough. It's very, very low. It is very low over that highway, but it's just about tall enough. So I'm gonna allow it. And then this is gonna go somewhere. I don't know where it's gonna go. It could maybe go to a station up here at some point, but it's gonna go somewhere. And it's important that we have that because, you know, we kind of need to cut this area out of this entire soon-to-be district. Now, I do think we should have some parking next to this shopping center. And I have seen some comments, and I did read some comments that mentioned that this kind of area, realistically, probably wouldn't have a lot of surface level parking. And this is something I've talked about, you know, on and off over the years with Cities Skylines. It is honestly just personal preference on my part. It's maybe weird a little bit. It's kind of a weird thing to like, but I like surface level parking. And the reason I like surface level parking is plain and simply because in City Skylines, it's an excuse to fill up a space, right? It's an excuse to fill a space. It's a bit of detail. You know, you see the cars parked in the building, and honestly, I feel like a parking lot next to a big train station kind of makes sense. Like you could park your car here, you walk around, go in and get in your train, and away you go, or you go shopping. I think this is a fair spot for it. It would be expensive to, you know, have some parking here, but I think it's okay. I think we can make it work. Now, what I do want to do is I want to bring this this road out and around this guy as much as I possibly can anyway. So we'll go ahead and turn off grid snapping, and we'll go to about there, and we'll extend it down a little bit further. Maybe we'll just do something like this where the two roads are sort of, you know, almost meeting. So something a little bit like that, I think, just nicely surrounds this thing. And then we could probably put some bollards in here, some posts, just to, you know, make it obvious that you probably don't want to drive across there. So we'll go ahead and just do something like, well, something like that is probably fine. A little bit weird looking, but, you know, it's a little bit of detail, and I'm okay with that. So that's going to be our parking for the shopping center and the train station. I don't necessarily think it's going to be enough, but whatever. It will certainly do the job. And then what I want to do is I want to come out this way. And I want to see, I can connect there. So I'm going to do this. And in doing that, I want to see if there's anything I could place in there, because we still have the Gherkin, and I do think it should probably go somewhere in this new space. We do have the theater, which honestly would sort of fit in there, but a metro line going right past the theater is certainly going to bring the value down a little bit. We do still have buildings like this little small office building with some parking next to it. We do still have this resort hotel as well, which, how much is it? 90,000. Okay, what does it look like? So it is just a big hotel. It's not really anything too crazy. So we might put that in here somewhere as well. In fact, I wonder what it would look like if I put it on this road here. So if we go in and we say this road is going to have zoning on it, and I might need to just sort of redo that road a little bit so the zoning is a little bit less crazy. So if we do that, and then we go in and say, you know, this road is in fact not going to have zoning. Neither is this one and neither is that one. I want to see what this hotel would look like on that road if I put it right there. It's honestly not bad. It doesn't really add to the skyline because it's not much taller than the modern city center buildings. But I think a hotel near the train station kind of makes sense. So I think I'm going to allow it. And I think what I'm also going to do is I am going to put a road around the back of it, just because it looks like it's the kind of thing that probably should have roads surrounding it. It just gives me that vibe. And then I can put some bollards around it. I can put some fences. I can detail this thing a little bit further a little bit later on. What I'd also like to do is this. So we have a road coming straight through there as well, connecting to this guy. And that's going to give us just more access to this entire district, which is fine. I am thinking that we could probably get away with upgrading this guy. And we could probably get away with some giveaway signs here. And also some better lane management as well. So that should keep us good. We can maybe do some trees and kind of a park in here, sort of a plaza in here. I do think this should have some buildings though. So let's take a look and see what else we have to place in here. We have this guy, this weird looking thing, which still to date, I just don't know where I'm going to put it. I've got to be honest. Although I do wonder if I was to put it here, would it look okay? And not really. Not really. It's not really. It's not one of those buildings that's easy to place. I've got to be honest. It looks good there. It actually does look pretty good there. If, you know, it didn't have the trees around it. And I don't have the mod that lets me remove those right now. So maybe we reload. We go get that mod, remove the trees, and commit to that building existing in that spot. Or we sort of, well, no, it looks terrible down there. Yeah, I think this is going to be the best spot we're going to get for that building, to be completely honest. But I'm going to bulldoze it for now, because I just want to look at my other options. I just can't commit to it yet. I just can't. We have service stations. We have restaurants. I don't think any of that's going to be any good. We do have the Sea and Skyscraper, which is an interesting little building, and actually is kind of lovely in that spot. I've got to be honest. I kind of really enjoy it there. And if I just pull it forward a little bit, the trees are nearly off of that road. And I would say they're off the road enough for that to be okay. Does that... It looks a little weird over on its own. But I guess if we put the Gherkin in this space, you kind of have this gradual descent from the tallest building down to like the smallest. So that might be okay. We do still have the Cathedral of Plentitude, which is, yeah, I'm probably not going to build that anywhere. I'm going to be honest with you. That's probably not going in. I do think the Gherkin has to go in though. So, ooh, would it fit nicely in here? Does it look weird in that space? It does a little bit. It definitely looks a little bit weird. I don't know that I love that. I don't know that I love that. Let's see what else we can do with it. What if we move it to like here instead? That's a little better. You know, as I've circled around this thing, I'm starting to like it in that spot more and more. So I am actually going to leave it there. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do a few more roads that just sort of go at that same angle. Because, well, I think what we could probably do here is just get some regular zoning in this area. And by some more roads that go at that same angle, I've immediately contradicted myself by not doing that. Because I realize I think it might actually be better to have the roads not at a weird angle for this area, because I do think a little bit of density might do us some good in terms of getting, well, just getting some actual buildings in here, because it has been a minute since we properly expanded the city. So let's just see if we can maybe do this, which we absolutely can. Let's go ahead and just turn off the zoning on these roads here. So everything's going to be nice and even, which is what we're looking for. We'll do the same here and here. Turn off that bit, turn off this bit. We'll turn this one back on. And again, that just gives us some nice even zoning in there, which I think is going to be great. We do have some zoning in here as well already. We're going for the modern city center, and I have renamed Myrtle Square downtown, which is now this entire space, which is pretty huge, but that's okay. We have this bit ready to build. And I think, to be honest, I'm going to build this bit up as well. And I think I'm also going to bring a road just back to there, so we can sort of fill up that entire space with a bit of regular zoning, because I think we're kind of overdue some regular zoning there. In fact, I'd be tempted to turn this entire area into just regular zoning. I think it might be a decent idea, but let's see. If I do this, can I just bring a road off of here? And it will run straight in there, which is probably good. It'll give us some zoning along the train tracks, but I think I'd almost rather do this. But if I do this, then what we end up with is we're going to have zoning on both sides, like facing both ways here rather than on that avenue, which is a little bit annoying. Whereas I guess if I was to move this up a little bit, if I move this entire road up a little bit, we could get zoning right along the train tracks. So if I put the road here instead, it doesn't necessarily line up perfectly with that corner, but that's okay. It does give us zoning along the train tracks, which is kind of what we're looking for. So we can do this. That's all zoned correctly as well. And we can just go ahead and say that all of this is going to be zoned. We can say that none of the avenue is going to be zoned. And I think that's okay. I think that sort of works. Although I would, I suppose, like to put a small little change in here, because I think what we're going to do is this and this to make sure the bigger buildings are on the avenue. And we can bring this node right down to the road. We'll bring this one right over to the road. And this guy is just going to move to the road there, which actually does deal with the issue of having the trees on the road. And this guy, I suppose, can face that way instead, which gives us a little bit of open space at the back. But I'm kind of okay with that, because we can probably turn it into a plaza. Although I am going to have to move those props out of there. And I think generally this just gives us a little bit more room to play with, and I think that's good. So let's go ahead and just paint over a little bit more of this. We'll paint over this bit as well. And let's just see if I can keep that tree. There we go. So that looks okay. We can turn that into a whole plaza for the skyscraper. We can turn this into a lovely looking plaza for the front of the shopping center. This is all going to be regular zoning, which is good because we do need that. And then we probably want to put more details in this space back here as well. So let's see what we're getting down to, because we are starting to run out of buildings. We do have government offices. I don't want to place those in here. They're not modern enough. We have a sports arena, but we need a whole district for that at some point, because these things are huge. We have got a casino. I think that'd be a bit weird. And we have this guy. Now this tower is probably one of the weirdest that we're going to have to play with. And I don't I don't love the look of it. It is a hotel, so it kind of matches the idea of hotels by the, well, by the train station. I just don't love it. That's kind of my thing. I just don't love the look of it. But if I place it there, I'm curious to see if it will fit on that road. It technically will. Obviously, you know, a little bit of move it involved to position it, but technically, yes, it fits on that road. Does it look okay on that road? I don't love it. I definitely don't love it, but I'm almost tempted to allow it. Because it is another skyscraper, right? But then we need something in here. We need to fill up this space, more towers. We're really cutting it fine. And I know I can go to the Steam Workshop, I can get more towers, but I'm trying to avoid doing that too often because I'm going to end up spending more time on the Steam Workshop than I am in the game. And, you know, obviously I kind of want to be playing the game. Now, this guy would probably work. The good old Grand Library. That was another building people suggested I put in the main downtown area, actually, which probably wouldn't have been terrible. It's not a bad looking building. It's definitely one that needs, I think it needs its own kind of space as well. So, well, what about back here? What if I kind of put it, let me place this thing. So if I place it there and I rotate it around, I can sort of, you know, put it on this road. We can kind of move it into this corner or do whatever we want with it. And then I guess we could build like a nice plaza around that as well. So that it's kind of an extension of the library as you have this like beautiful kind of garden around the library. I think that would be kind of cool. I think that's something that a grand library like that might have. It does feel a little out of place though. You know, you have this not generic. This is a beautiful building. This is from one of the content creator packs. It's not a generic looking building, but it's also not like as architecturally interesting, I guess, as everything around it. So I'm now wondering, would this fit in that space? Because if it did, and it looks like it would it make more sense to put the, and I think it would make more sense to put the library in there. So let's do that. Let's move the resort hotel. We'll put it there for now. In fact, we'll just demolish it. And I think the library makes more sense in this space. I think it's just a little more interesting looking than the hotel. We have a luxury hotel sort of behind it. And obviously this road needs to go as well, but I think that does look better. It's going to have this plaza here as well. It's going to have this lovely garden in front of it. So I think that's a bit more interesting looking. I think that's what we're going to go for. Now, in terms of this road, I mean, that's sort of going to be the challenge, is figuring out how, you know, and where roads are going to go here. But I guess we could, well, I guess we could get a bit weird with it. Do something like this, take that one out. You know, position this guy in a space that actually makes sense, where it's not right up on the sidewalks. So that seems okay. This little curve can go away, and this can push straight through there. In fact, what if we just did that? I don't really hate that. And I think we can move the library forward a little bit just so the trees aren't, you know, right on that corner. It looks a little strange, but it also makes the area a bit more unique, right? It looks like we're kind of having to, you know, build roads kind of around the buildings a little bit, which is sort of what we're having to do. So I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. I think at this point, let's detail and focus on what we have right here. And then we can come back in and, you know, put more actual buildings in here eventually. Because I think I'm getting a little too focused on where the specific buildings are going to go. And we're not really growing a district here by doing that, right? So let's go in. Let's turn off zoning on this road. Turn off zoning on that road. We'll turn it off on this road as well, and this one. And we'll turn it off here. It is already off there. What I'm thinking we go ahead and do is we turn zoning on for this road because I can get some buildings really nicely along here. I think we turn zoning off for this road. And then I think we turn it back on for this road. So again, we get some zoning right in there, which is going to be good. And it's going to help us just fill up this area and make it feel a little bit more dense, a little bit, you know, more like something's going on. So that's going to be good right there. It's going to be the same style. Actually, no, it's not going to be the same style. So what we're going to have to do is bring this district across and sort of around the keys here. And we actually have our first discount sales store going up, and it's a pretty good looking corner building, if I do say so myself. So I'm quite happy about that. We'll let the district go ahead and just keep growing. But for now, I want to go ahead and start actually, you know, fencing things in and making it look like things are planted in this area. So I'm going to use a forestry fence to surround the library. Because, and you've heard me say this word so many times before, it's going to be an interesting bit of juxtaposition, you know, between the natural wood of the fence and this really architecturally sharp and kind of modern library. Right? You have this thing with a wooden fence. It's a nice little bit of contrast, I like to think anyway. And we're going to do the same over here. We'll go ahead and, I don't know why I'm copying this to do it, but it's what I'm doing apparently. We're going to put it right about there, and we'll extend it right up to that corner. And I would like to make sure it's right on the road. I don't really want any grass showing on the side that the people are going to be walking on. So this guy is going to come down to, let's say there. And then we need to get this big old curve going, and that's something I'm a little bit nervous about because this might not work all that well, but we will figure it out. If I just grab you and we just bring it out to about there, that actually looks pretty solid, so that's good. And essentially, we kind of need to do the same thing here. So a little straight section of fence. You know, bring that around, bring the little straight section of fence right up against the sidewalk, and grab this guy, pushing it back. That looks pretty good. And we need to do the same thing on this side as well. So you go right up to there. We can move this guy right against the sidewalk. We can move this guy right against the sidewalk. We'll get a little bit between them and something like that. There is a little bit of grass showing, but I'm okay with that. And I think that's just going to help give us essentially a kind of interesting garden. And that's what I'm looking for. It's like a garden thing back here, an area that people can chill in. Because I think what we can do is we could go ahead and chop, say, the end off at this end. And we could have a path that can cut in there so people can go and chill from, you know, this end of things. We could, I guess, chop out a little section, say here, so people can kind of walk through there as well. And I guess we could chop out a little section, let's say right about here as well. So that's going to let people get through here. And I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use these dirt paths because they're kind of the most easy to cover up. So we're going to start here. And I'm actually going to put one that goes right down the side there. And I'm hoping people don't walk through the fence because they will occasionally do that. In fact, I'm so concerned about it, I'm not going to have a path going down the side, even though I really want one going down the side. What I'll do is I'm just going to sort of freeform this path a little bit. So it goes a little something like that. And that's going to let people, you know, walk through there and get to the other side, and that's great. And then I guess, and there's someone going already, fantastic. And then I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start freeforming like this. So we'll come down here, go sort of towards the fence, get real close to the fence, and just straight to about there. And then for connections to this, we can just go like that, and like, I guess that. We'll go ahead and just curve it a little bit so it's a little smoother and a little smoother. And this path is eventually going to be covered. it's not something that's going to be staying because, you know, I want it to look, well, maybe it will stay. You know what? Maybe it will. It might actually look kind of interesting if it does. So we'll see. I think it's going to be dirt regardless if it does stay or not. But, well, you know what? I think if it stays, it might actually look a little bit more interesting because we could go ahead and put like a nice big, you know, oak tree right there. And that's, you know, people go around the big oak tree to get to where they're going. And then right here, we could do, you know, some bushes and some flowers and some color and all that, you know, all that good stuff to make it look interesting and appealing and lovely. And, you know, you want to make it look like somewhere people want to go. You don't want to make it look like somewhere people want to go to, you know, peddle illegal substances or partake in activities of a canine variety. If those of you that get that joke, shame on you, but also well done. So one thing I'm getting really addicted to is using all of this ploppable pavement and asphalt and grass, because what I can do is I can fill in all these little gaps around buildings like this and make it look a little sharper. And I'm really enjoying making this building look a little sharper. It just makes it look, again, more like planted and more deliberately placed in an area rather than having, you know, these weird little corners where we don't have concrete for some reason. So yeah, this is a dangerous addiction for me, is what I'm thinking, because what's going to end up happening is I'm going to just get really hooked on making every little intersection, every little corner of these buildings just look proper. Because it's already what I'm doing, is I'm trying to make it look sharp. I'm trying to make it look designed. I'm trying to make it look like, you know, like these trees have been planted in actual sort of planters rather than just, you know, weirdly sectioned out sections of grass, if that makes sections of you know, a lot of sections in that sentence, but hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. My point is that I foresee me getting really hooked on using this to just detail everything, and that is good and that is bad, because it's going to mean that my progress in this city, which, bear in mind, once upon a time I mentioned that this wasn't going to be a Let's Build series, and well, here I am painstakingly detailing what is this, a library? Yeah, not a Let's Build, by the way. But here we are painstakingly detailing a library. Oh boy, it's this is going to be an interesting one. I'm enjoying it though. I actually, you know, I feel like I said this about the last not a Let's Build series, but it's been a little bit since I've sat down and just sort of focused on detailing things in City Skylines. And part of the reason I actually don't do Let's Builds, and I don't know if I've ever really talked about this, I think I have. I think I've touched on this once or twice. But obviously, you know, for those of you that are aware, this channel got originally a lot of traction from some City Skylines Let's Build videos that I did. I did like the tiered city back in 2016, and I've done other things since. I did a tiered city again a couple of years ago, and that's, I don't know why I'm trying to do this the way I'm doing it. That's where a lot of people originally found this channel, was those Let's Builds. And every time I talk about this, you know, there'll probably be comments, and I'm always curious about where people found the channel, but usually when I bring up this topic, the comment section ends up with a lot of, well, actually, I found the channel from this other thing, and I am always curious. So if you remember, if you're wanting to share, do feel free. But the point of what I'm getting at is that the channel largely got its start through those kind of creative Let's Build videos in Cities Skylines. And every now and then I'll get people that are like, well, why don't you do more of those? You'd get more views, or you would, whatever, you know, get to be creative or whatever, right? There's a lot of reasons I could, or should or whatever, you know, do Let's Builds. There's a lot of reasons. But the reason I don't do them is, and I'm not trying to like get sympathy. I'm not trying to get like compliments. I'm not fishing here. I'm genuinely intimidated. Genuinely intimidated, because there are some ridiculously talented creators out there that play this game that have put so many hours into City Skylines, and they build the most incredibly detailed cities that I've ever seen. And that is genuinely why I don't do Let's Builds, because I couldn't compete with that. And I know it's not about competition. I know it's not about, you know, whose builds are better, right? And I know, you know, none of these creators, no one in the City Skylines scene is running around being like, well, actually, I'm a better builder than this guy, so, yeah, that's why you should watch my channel and not his. You know, no one's doing that. But I do watch a lot of these guys, and I've mentioned in the past different cities YouTubers that I will occasionally watch for a little bit of inspiration here and there. And it's just incredible what they can do. It really is. It's absolutely, it's astounding what some people can do with this game. And I watch these guys, and I'm usually laying in bed, you know, I'll be laying in bed, it's the end of the day, I'm getting ready to go to sleep, I'm chilling with some City Skylines on YouTube, and I'm watching someone build, you know, it's episode 150 of their city build that they've been working on for the last however many years. And I'm just looking at this, and I'm in awe every time of what people can do. This stuff is so detailed, it's so precise, it's so thought out. And then here's me spending 10 minutes just trying to get these default trees to look a little better. And I do think they look better, admittedly, after what I've just done to them there. I think this looks a little more precise and deliberate, but that's why. That is genuinely why. And I'm not trying to. It's not a matter of fishing for compliments. It's not a matter of anything. Like I watch these guys build these amazing creations, and I look at what I do, and it's just, it doesn't compare. And it's also tricky from a YouTube point of view. If we want to talk about the business side of things for a second, which I try to not do too often, but every now and then we'll have a conversation. This channel was built on the idea of daily videos, and obviously the last couple of years it's been a bit of an up and down with the whole daily video thing. But this channel was built on that, and with how YouTube works, it can be very difficult once you have an established channel, which with the size of my channel these days, it's established. It's far from, you know, the biggest. Maybe, you know, 15 years ago, however many years ago on YouTube, this would have been a pretty substantially sized channel, but these days, nah, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, it's very difficult once YouTube's algorithm kind of puts you in a little spot, and it's like, yeah, you get this many views and you upload this often, and the computer's like, well, that's what this guy does, so that's what, you know, we expect this guy to do. It's very difficult to break out from that, because if I was to start doing these super detailed Let's Builds, I mean, it already takes hours, a couple of hours for just an episode of a City Skylines Let's Play, right? This episode so far, I don't know how long it's going to be once it hits YouTube, but I'm coming up in 2 hours of recording right now, and I feel like I've done nothing, right? And that's just City Skylines, man. That's how this game works. You can spend a long time doing nothing in City Skylines. It's kind of crazy. But I think I am going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to use this this brush to get some trees into this park, because not all of them need to be, you know, super precisely placed. We just need some density, and then I need to go in there with a little bit of color, I think. Yeah, I think this will work. You know, it's cheating a little bit, but I think it'll work. So I think this is probably good enough for the garden at the back of the library. There is a little bit more I'd like to do down the sides to hide a few more of our crimes, but for now, it's going to be good enough. I do want to turn my attention to this luxury hotel, though, because I've gone ahead and put some of these curbs around it. And I've also gone ahead and put some dirt paths in there because I want people to be able to walk through this space, which is something that I've been trying to do with a lot of what I've been building in this downtown area. Is I'm trying to make it something that people can walk through. And I know that sounds really basic and simple, but I think it's a big deal. I think it's important that people can walk around these areas. So that's kind of what I'm going for, is you can walk through here, you can get to this little path here. This is all going to be completely covered up with concrete. In fact, what I'm going to do is just cover this entire area with concrete, and then once some buildings pop up in here, we can detail it a little bit better to, you know, actually make it noticeable for where the paths are. In fact, what if I went ahead and kept that middle path visible for a second? Because what I could do is I could get some benches, and I could say we'll use these ones, and we'll just do a line of them down like this, which I think looks pretty good. It's not exactly perfect. I'd say that's a little better there. So we'll place those, and then I want to grab those props. I want to rotate them, and I want to just get them sort of lined up on the other side as well, a little bit like that. And I think that's pretty good. We can then go and grab some lamps, and I'm thinking we'll go for these sort of eco street lamps, which are pretty modern looking, and I think they're quite bright as well. And I'm gonna put an eco street lamp right about there. I'm gonna put one right about there as well, right in the middle there, and right in the middle there. And then what I can do is rotate. And we'll put one, let's see, is this actually at the right angle? That's, it's kind of hard to tell. I'm going to be honest. I think that's pretty good though. So we'll go ahead and put one, say, there. And we'll dot one right about there as well. And you know what? I think that's probably good enough. And that's just going to make it so that we can kind of see where this path is, even when I cover the entire thing up. You can kind of see, you know, where the street lights are. You can see where the benches are, and it's going to make it a little bit more obvious once the buildings show up where everything is and where everything is supposed to be. And then I can detail that space at the back and make it look a little bit more interesting than just this weird kind of open space, right? So I think that'll be kind of cool. We could, for example, go and get, let's see, what if we go for a stall of some sort? We could maybe do this food stall right here, and we could slap it maybe right on the corner. We could probably grab a van, so maybe an ice cream van, or maybe the cargo van. So we put the cargo van, say, there, and we move the food stall to there, so it's attached to the back of the van. It's not in any zoning, which is good. In fact, we could probably just move it over a little bit so it's a bit closer to the building. And I think that looks all right. And then if we just go ahead and say maybe some tables, we could grab, say, these guys. I think they'd look kind of nice, just dotted, say, there, there, and there. And maybe one more right about there. Yeah, actually, no, I don't want one more right about there. That's fine as it is. Just a little something. Right, so when a building pops up next to it, it's going to look a little interesting. And then we still have some open space here to play with, so we could do some fountains, we could do some benches, we could maybe do a couple more stalls right about here as well. So if I go and use the line tool, we could maybe place, I didn't actually mean to place that right away, but we could maybe do something like this and place, say, 3 stalls along the side of this building, just to be a little bit different. So you got a little bit of, just a little bit of shop in there. I didn't really mean to rotate them, but that's fine. Something like that, just to fill up the space. And I think that's pretty good. It's nothing crazy, but it does the job, and I think this will look pretty good once we have some buildings back there. This obviously needs a little bit more detail than it has right now. So what if we went and grabbed maybe this luxury hotel has a bus of some sort. So if I go in, I'm pretty sure I have them, yes. So we have like the intercity bus as a prop. What if we go ahead and place the intercity bus prop? We could sort of place it in there. But what if we just placed this... What side has the doors? Is that the side with the door? Is that the side with the door? It's kind of hard to tell. I don't think it really matters, to be completely honest, because I'm pretty sure these things are made to be symmetrical so they can drive on either side of the road. So let's just place this thing... Or maybe there's like maybe there's a band staying here, right? So you got like a bus there for whatever reason. We could maybe have another bus just ahead of it for whatever reason. You know, just a couple of vehicles parked there. We could maybe have a truck. So maybe this thing at the back is making a delivery similar to what I did with a Majesty. Maybe this guy is, I don't know, out back on this side. Actually, you know what? Let's not go too crazy with that. Let's just do something simple like that for now. And I think that's okay. Nothing crazy, nothing super detailed, but it works okay. And I think if I had to make one complaint, it would be that these curbs are a little bare. So what if I went in with the good old prop line tool, and we go from here. Well, let's start that again because we had the wrong tree. We go from here the entire way up to about there. We could probably space those out a little better. So if we grab this one, we space them to... I like that. I think that's pretty good spacing. And if I grab those, I'm pretty sure I could elevate them so it looks like they're actually growing from the curb, which I absolutely can. And I think that looks kind of cool. I think it's an interesting little bit of detail that we otherwise wouldn't have, and we can do the same on this side as well. And if we really wanted to, we could do the same at the back as well. So let's go ahead and grab 1, 2, 3, 4, what is that, 5? We'll copy them, we'll spin them, and we'll just do this. And I think that's pretty good. I think that's a nice little bit of detail. Obviously, we're still waiting on some buildings popping up on this side, but I think that's pretty good. So that'll be a nice looking area. We're still waiting on some buildings in here, and I have a horrible feeling we're not going to get many. Although we don't really have much demand for commercial right now, so I probably shouldn't be surprised. But what I do want to see is if anyone's actually using this train, and they absolutely are. There's 100% people waiting. There's one person on this 200-person train. That's a little grim, but that's okay. I actually do like this. It's kind of got the look that I wanted, which is like, it's not quite as built as this downtown area, but it's still very clearly downtown. Now, let's go ahead, I guess, and get this plaza and this plaza as well, all detailed. And then we'll get the trees and the sort of the garden thing here built up as well. So we'll start with this because it's going to be a little bit easier. And I guess, oh boy, in terms of a fence around this, I'm not really sure what to go for. Obviously, we used, what is this, the zoo fence on that side. It might be a little much to use it on this side. But then again, it might, I guess it would sort of match. We used the wood right there. We did use the wood on this side as well. I'll tell you what, let's actually use the concrete retaining wall network since we can raise it and lower it as we need to. So we can go ahead and build that bit. We can bring this guy around here nice and easily. So this should, if it wants to play nicely, which it doesn't seem to want to do right now, kind of annoyingly. What if we do this and this just to get that to connect properly? Do we have a key nearby here that's messing with it? I guess we have that one. But what we can do is curve you. And then we just need to essentially do exactly the same thing on this side. So you're going to go to there. You are going to come out to, oh boy. I don't know how nicely this is all going to work, because that's not quite what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that. There's a line in there. I can see the line that I need, but I can't seem to grab it. So what if we started from this side, Can I get the line that I need? Near enough, I think. I think that's it. That's good enough. And for this side, oh boy. Does that line up? That's pretty good. That's good enough. We can shuffle all of this right into the corners and everything's going to be perfect. So let's just very quickly, or as quickly as I can manage, let's get all this to exactly where it's going to need to be. So you're going right up against that that sidewalk. We'll go ahead and do the same thing here. In fact, if I just grab you, shuffle all of this right into the corner. So something like that. We can grab you and, well, actually, what if we did this? Push you right over to that side. So they're both against the sidewalk, and just push it right up to the top so that it's right against the sidewalk on that side as well. And then for this guy, just move it ever so slightly. And I guess grab you as well and move them ever so slightly to hide the sidewalk. And then just essentially doing the same thing the entire way around. This is going to be kind of tedious, but I think it's going to be worth it because I think it's going to look really good. I think a low curb was kind of the right shout for this area to try and keep it a little bit more open. And I think in terms of trees, I'm going to go relatively minimal. And I'm going to sort of just do what we've done with some other areas in here and just stick with these smaller trees, which what exactly are these things? Lindens. Of course they are. Of course they're lindens. All right. I feel like I've pointed that out before, the fact that these trees are called lindens. That's, That's weird. That's kind of weird that I've gotten to really like these trees, given that particular story that I could tell, but I'm not going to, because I feel like I've told it this year. Actually, I don't know if I have told the Linden story in 2022. I feel like I've told it every year since we started playing City Skylines, though, so I don't know. It's out there. I'm starting to forget that story myself, if I'm completely honest, so it's whatever. Let's just bring this all around here. And that looks relatively evenly spaced out, so that's fine. Let's go to about here and try and get something kind of nicely spaced to about there. And you know what? Just bring those in a tiny smidge. Bring that down a tiny bit. And maybe just bring you to about there should be okay. So that's not too bad. I'm thinking I honestly might... I think I will surround the rest of this with these trees as well, but I'm not going to go too crazy with it. Because I think we're getting pretty close to where I'd want this area to be. So we'll get that one tree in the middle. We'll get you kind of in the corner. And I guess down here we'll sort of do the same thing. So one tree in the middle and one tree sort of in the corner, or as close to as we can get. And then we need to line it up so we have them spaced out the same on the other side, which is going to be a little tricky, I think. No, maybe not. That seems about right there. So let's just see if we can sort of get this to work where it's not going to be as tedious for me to place every single tree around there like I had to do in that initial curve. And honestly, this looks about right. This doesn't look too terrible. So we'll do this. We'll bring this guy straight across. We'll sort of come around the corner as best we possibly can. And I knew this bit would be a problem. Let's see. If I move you back a little bit, move you back a little bit, move you, and you, and you. There we go. A little cramped on the corner, but honestly, I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not okay with this bit of land that keeps changing color, but I'm going to have to live with it. And now I just need to put a bunch of bollards and walls and things like that into the rest of this space, which is going to be a bit of a pain, but I guess it's what we're doing. I'm also realizing that, to be completely honest, I should probably get some grass, because what I could do is I could plop some grass. Let's see, can I get a smaller circle? I could do like this sort of thing where we have, you know, some ploppable, oh boy, I'm about to detail this place when I really don't need to. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do a square because it's going to be easier. So give me, let's see, give me this. and give me these retaining walls. So basically, I'm going to make planters is what I'm going to make. So something like that. We can grab the surface. We can move it into sort of the middle of the planter thing. And then I just need to grab the nodes, lower them down a little bit. Not, you know, the whole way. And then we just want to grab the surface and raise it up a little bit so it looks like a planter. And then basically what I want to do is grab all of it, copy it, and slap it in here. And it's gonna look better, I think, than just these trees kind of existing. Yeah, that does look considerably better. All right, I don't think these are gonna line up perfectly, but I'm actually not really too stressed about that because I'm quite happy with how they turned out. If I can see this one though, that would be great. So roughly there, I would say, is about in line. And then roughly, I want to say there is about in line. And that seems fine. I guess all I do now is grab this and delete it. And then I grab the nodes for these 4 planters and level them so that they're all the same height, which they absolutely are. We want to grab the surfaces and get them all leveled to the same height as well, which they absolutely are. So yeah, I think that looks good. I think that's a nice little way to detail the gherkin. And now for the rest of it, which is the fun part. You know, going in and tediously placing more walls. Because really, that's what City Skylines has become for me. It's a game where I kind of just place a lot of walls these days. And I'm kind of here for it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't entirely hate the fact that that's what this game basically is. Okay, this is starting to come together. I've gone ahead and put a bunch of bollards around a bunch of these spaces. I've got some of these retaining walls around here as well, just to be a bit different and to have some detail in the spaces. And I think what I'm gonna do is essentially just go around with benches for one. And I want to put a bunch of these guys along some of these walls. So if we go and do a little something like that and space these guys out, maybe 4 of them would be enough for that side. Although I do want to make sure the rotation is 0, which it is. So 4 right there seems pretty good. We could probably just do, say, 2 of them on this side. So a little something like that. And over here, we could probably get 2 of them as well. So we'll go ahead and do maybe this for that side. Over here, I have added another hidden dirt path, and I have a couple of dirt paths through here so people can walk through the space. So I think what I'm going to have to do is actually tear up the concrete so I can see where the dirt paths are. Because what I'd like to do here is get a little bit more detail in here in terms of like decorations and statues. So I think having people walk around there like that is going to be a little bit better. Because what I could do is I could go and grab, say, a nice fountain, although it's probably going to be this one, and we can slap it right in the middle of everything if we really want to, which I do kind of want to. Although I also kind of like the idea of putting this statue in here, and I'm not 100% sure what rotation to have on this. Maybe, well, I think this is going to be better. So let's have the statue face there, and let's grab some fountains, and we'll just sort of slap them either side. We'll go for the slightly smaller fountains this time, just to change it up a little bit, because we do have the same statue in a couple of other places, and I think that looks all right. And I guess what we could do is we could throw these smaller ones in as well. So it would be a nice little small kind of bird bath looking fountain and a little bird bath looking thing, say, there as well. I think that looks okay. It's, you know, not the most detailed thing in the world, but it's all right. In terms of benches, we could grab, say, this guy and put it right at the foot of the statue, and put one right at the back as well. So again, just a little bit of detail in there. And what else have we got? We have these things, these amusement park benches. They're actually kind of cool looking, but I think this is okay. And I guess what we do is we grab some lamps, and we could say that maybe there's a lamp right in the middle of that fountain. And maybe there's a lamp right in the middle of that fountain as well. Obviously not perfect, but that's probably good enough. And then in terms of lights for the rest of this place, let's do, I guess, another one of these eco lights in between those chairs. And we'll do one in there as well. And we'll pop over to this side. We'll place one right about there. And we'll place one right in between these guys as well. So right about, say, there should be good. Still not necessarily detailed enough for my liking in here, though. I'd kind of like more stuff. So what if we go and grab another stole? And I know I'm kind of, you know, retreading old ground here, just putting another one of these guys in, but I do kind of like it, and I do like the idea of having it attached to a van, just so it looks like there's a little bit more going on. Even though I think I did do that at the back of there. No, it was up here, wasn't it? Yeah, it was right there. Okay, so it's not super close to the other one, which I guess is all right. And I guess in terms of tables, we could go ahead and just place another, you know, one right there, maybe one right there, and maybe one right there. And you know what? We'll go for there as well. I think that's okay. It makes the area look busy. It's a little, you know, cluttered, but that's kind of what I'm going for. So let's just cover this entire thing up, and we'll get an idea of what it looks like once we do that. So there we go. I think that's all right. It's not amazing. It's really not amazing. It's actually kind of boring looking. Ugh. You know what we need? We need some trees in there. We need some green to bring this space to life. So what about my planters? What if I grabbed like, what if we put some plants in between these chairs rather than just lights? That might look a little bit more interesting. And it should be possible if I just sort of do this and then move that entire section back a little bit like that. I mean, it's not exactly a planter, and I'm not 100% sure I can actually put any grass in there either, but I can certainly find out. So it turns out I absolutely can make this look like a little planter. So I'm going to do the same thing over on this side, except this time I'm going to go for a little bit of a wider one, just for some variety. And what we'll do is we'll grab these two surfaces, we'll bring them over, and we'll just get them in position right away. So we're looking at, I guess, there. And we just need a third one to go right about, say, there. So if we do that, we can go ahead and grab this node and bring it back to here. We can grab this one and bring it back to about, say, there. And if I just grab those two nodes and lower them to the same height as that one, I then just grab the surfaces and lower them to the same height as those ones, and we have a weird looking planter thing, which is actually kind of cool. And I don't think I'm gonna actually put any plants in these. I think I'm just gonna have the grass there to break up all of the gray, because it is actually doing what I wanted it to do, which is, you know, breaking up how boring this would otherwise look. Although I do need to move that path because we kind of don't want people, you know, walking through the planter. So we'll do that. I think that should be okay. They'll sort of walk past it. Some people might clip through it. They're gonna clip through the well, I guess I'm getting a little bit lazy. Hold on a minute. Let's do this properly. We'll just clear all of this out. We'll take that out of there, and we'll redo this path, because to be honest, it's not really that hard to do. Just need to turn off grids for a second and connect you to there, and then bring this down to here and just do something like that. And that should be fine. That should work. So let's cover it back up and let people get back to walking around there. So there we go. So yeah, they walk a little bit wide around everything, but at least now they're not walking through things. And I guess what we can go ahead and do here is make a much larger planter. So we'll come out to, say, there, and we'll come out to same distance on this side. We'll do that sort of thing. And I'm not saying it's going to be, you know, that size of planter, but I think we'll take the benches out. We'll go ahead and grab the surfaces over here. And we can just see what this is going to look like. So get it nice and even, which that just about is. We want to paste it. We want to paste another one. And another one. And I think I could get away with another single surface right about, maybe right about there. That looks like it's good. So let's bring the nodes back and see if we can't get a nice big wide planter here with a couple of lights in it. And honestly, that looks okay to me. I don't mind that at all. Let's just make sure we're selecting the right things. Let's lower you to that height. Let's grab the surfaces and get them all nicely evened out like so. And I like that. I like that a lot. I've got to be honest. I really do. Let's just raise the lights up so that they're actually on the planters. And I really do like that. I think that's a nice way to just add some green to that space. And I think it needs a little bit more, but I'm going to leave it be for now because that's enough for there. As for right here, I want to see what I can do in terms of like taxis and stuff like that, because we have these taxi stand props. So I feel like what we could probably do is put like a taxi stand prop there and there and sort of dot them around a little bit so that you have, you know, room for taxis to stop in front of the train station. Not that they actually will, but, you know, make it look like they could. So they sort of stop along there. It gives the passengers an idea on, you know, where to go. I don't think we have anything else I could place other than, you know, an actual taxi depot, which I think we have somewhere. What about shelters, though? So if I search for bus, do we have an actual bus stop prop? We absolutely do. So let's place a few of these guys along this wall. So it looks like we've got room for people to actually sit down and wait for whatever, you know, ongoing journey they have, right? They can wait for their connection. They can actually sit and get some shelter from the elements. Not that we have weather on this map, but we could. I probably should turn weather on. I don't think there's any reason to not have it. I'm pretty sure weather doesn't give you disasters, so wouldn't be the end of the world. What about this? What is this? Sightseeing bus stop large. What does that actually look like? It looks like an information kiosk, which I actually like the idea of having out here. So let's place one there. Let's rotate around and we'll place another one, I guess, there. So we'll have like a little information stand out front of the train station. We could probably move these guys over just a little bit. And then I just think benches. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. It's just a bunch of benches. We'll go for slightly different looking ones though. We'll go for like these guys since I kind of want them to stand out a little bit. So let's see. We have this. That's not quite what I was looking for. I'd like to move them to be a little bit closer together. So we'll do this. We'll move you to there. Move this. That's a rotate. That's not really what I'm looking for. Move this in a little bit. And we'll do 3. I was originally thinking 2, but we'll go for 3. And let's see if I can just move this to be exactly where I want it to be. I'm kind of thinking there. And I'm thinking I just go ahead and copy, rotate, and paste. And then I think I just go ahead and grab all 6 of them and put them, say, there. It just fills up the space a little bit, you know? And we could probably do the same up here as well at a bit of an angle. Bit different looking, but that's probably... In fact, you know what? We'll do here, and we'll not do those ones. We'll move these guys to be against the wall. Same benches. In fact, we'll do 6 of those as well. We'll do them like this. Leave a bit of a gap between them. And that looks all right. I actually kind of like that. Just a little bit of detail in front of the train station. We get detail here by the Gherkin. We get nothing in this plaza. We get no buildings back here yet. which is kind of weird. I was thinking they'd be built by now, but for some reason they're not, which is a little bit frustrating. I was really hoping we'd see what this whole thing would look like. If I zone here, are they going to build? Yeah. So why isn't this building? It's kind of weird that this bit isn't wanting to develop when this bit clearly is. I must have something in the way of it. What if what if I just grab some, what is this? I actually don't know what kind of building this is. I could, in theory, just grab some growable stuff, which really wouldn't be the end of the world. If I like search for modern or something, or like this. What is this? That's the modern city center thing. So yeah, I could place some of these guys, right? I could be like, you know, we'll put, what is this one? Not really what I'm looking for. Not really what I'm looking for either. Can I get one that like looks like it's a corner or something like that? That one's kind of cool looking. It's not the right corner though. Also not the right corner. What about you? Nope. Oh boy. This is going to be, here's what I'm looking for. So something like that, right? That's kind of cool. And then that's kind of cool. And that's kind of cool. So in theory, those three buildings should actually fit together really nicely because I think they're all sort of the same. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. What is that? Is that low density? I don't know. I think because it's historic, it's not going to go anywhere now. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I can get this to work. You there and historic. And let's see. You there and historic. So they might stay now, or they might not develop at all, which actually seems to be the much more likely option. That's not really what I was looking for, I'm going to be honest. I'd like it to, there we go. Historic building. And you are also historic. All right. So they should sort of match, right? Oh, that's a very different looking building. Hold on a minute. I want rid of you. Let me get a different one. I want like this. Right, so I want that to grow. It didn't want to grow. All right, let's try it again, and then historic. Is it grow? Is that the same type of building? I think it might be. And it's gone. Okay, all right. It's not really. This isn't really working, but at least it's building something now, so I'll take it. Although it's a small building. Oh, that one's gone. Oh no. I think my auto bulldoze might be getting a little bit carried away, but whatever. We have buildings here now, so it's fine. I don't know. I like this area. I think it's turned out pretty good. Was it worth building all of this for 3 hours? I don't really know, but I like it. I think it's a good extension of the downtown. We have our big old train station in here. We have a lot of traffic here as well. So I guess, I mean, I said I wanted public transport connections for this area. We have a train. It's not a very good train, but it's a train. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's make another public transport connection. Let's go from the airport and let's go directly to downtown. So we'll go to, we'll say here. We'll go like, I guess there. We could go here as well, and that's going to give us some connections sort of roughly to the area. We could bring a bus sort of down that main road. I don't think it needs to go into the area, so it can go to there. It can go to City Hall. In fact, it's going to skip City Hall. It's just going to go back to the airport is what it's going to do. So let's go ahead and get that sorted. That's going to be bus line 13, which is going to be up here somewhere. Bus line 13 is going to be downtown / airport. And we're going to make it, I guess, let's go for the double-decker airport buses. That seems like a good shout. So double-decker airport buses, that'll get people into this area from the airport at the very least. And it'll give people an option to hop to some other buses as well, I suppose. We probably do want something that's not just an airport line back and forth to downtown, but I'm kind of okay with this lazy option for now. I think it's all right. I think we can make it work. Either way, what I'm also thinking is we're going to leave it there for today because this episode has taken so much longer to record than I planned for, and is just generally, I'm a little nervous about it because I don't feel like I did all that much, and I feel like it's going to be a really long one. But I've had fun building this. It's kind of expanded the skyline a little bit, which is what I was hoping for. Like I said, it gave us a central train station, so not too bad. More work to do, but the city's coming along kind of nicely. It's expanding. It's doing what I want it to do. I think next time we'll start building up into this space. We'll maybe connect this train station, maybe get the metro going up there as well. But until then, thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.